Sometimes animals find themselves in dangerous situations where they are in desperate need of a helping hand. There are many occasions where an animal's only chance of survival is the help from a kind human. Today we're going to show you moments where animals ask people for help, and it'll break your heart. This hungry stray puppy wandered around all by himself along the dangerous train tracks, trying to find something to eat just to survive for another day. Because of the cruelty of many humans, the puppy was terrified when this man approached him. But this man wasn't like everyone else, and after getting the puppy's trust, he took him home to live the happy and comfortable life he truly deserves. In this heartwarming video, you will see how motherhood helps an elephant surpass the barrier of language. She was spotted by a group of people wandering around and trying to gain their attention. Naturally, the people were scared and reported it to the authorities, who tried driving her away with firecrackers. However, she did not budge and persisted, trying to gain their attention. Eventually, they decided to follow her, and it turns out she guided them to a pit where her baby was stuck. The people dug a path to free the baby elephant and save its life. All thanks to its brave mother, never gave up hope. A baby shark found herself trapped among the rocks and may never have seen his family again. If it hadn't been for these surfers, they tried to simply push the young creature into deeper water, but they had to do much more to get it back home.
Go! Come on! It's out!
These wildlife workers were called out to find a fox cub stuck in a fence, but when rescuers arrived, it turned out to be something very different. They rushed the car back to the center, where vet nurses had their work cut out for them, trying to get the little fox free. Amazingly, the fox is freed without the need to cut through the wheel, and after a brief recovery time, it was finally returned to the wild. A kitten was trapped inside a burning house, and after inhaling too much smoke, the kitten was left unconscious. But thankfully, one brave firefighter spotted the tiny kitten and did everything in his power to save its life. This poor dog had somehow gone out the window and gotten stuck on a small surface below. The dog couldn't jump either back or down, as it would otherwise have injured itself very seriously. But take a look at what these amazing people are doing. Several random people got together to try and save the dog's life, following the dog with a tarp beneath them in case he falls as he walks across the plank. That is what humanity should be all about, helping others at times when they need it the most. Unfortunately, some people would probably let an animal experiencing heart failure die, but this man in India secured his place in our hearts by showing you should never give up.
Yeah?
During a heat wave, it's the stray animals that suffer the most, so this kind man decided to help a stray dog by giving it a quick cold shower to cool off. On this road in Thailand, a huge snake had tightly coiled itself around a young deer in an attempt to suffocate it. While several cars drove by, oblivious to the cruelty of nature, one decided to come to this deer's rescue and saved it from becoming a tasty meal for the snake. The poor animal with a jar stuck on its head. The distressed dog approached these kind people who helped you get free and saved its life. After this man helped his sloth cross the street, the adorable animal even thanked him for his kindness. While trying to run away from home, this cat was trapped with its neck in the iron entrance. The pet had been stuck there for several hours before it was found and was facing breathing problems, causing its tongue to turn black. Luckily, these people found it before it was too late and managed to rescue the poor animal. When a stray dog fell into this canal, a group of kind people came together to demonstrate what we humans can accomplish when we work together. After this dog fell off the street, he found himself traveling very close to a river with deadly strong currents. Luckily, his friend refused to leave him behind and stayed close by until help arrived. At first, the frightened dog was wary, but the rescuer took his time to gain his trust until he was able to bring him to safety. This female loggerhead turtle had a net stuck so far down his throat that it made it difficult for the animal to eat or even breathe. But thankfully, the turtle found these kind people who were willing to help. This family was approached by a baby fox with a jar stuck on its head, desperately seeking help. After a while, they were finally able to remove it and save the poor animal. These people encountered a wild wolf who was in desperate need of CPR. Despite being one of the most dangerous animals in the world for humans, they did not even hesitate to risk their own safety to save the poor animal. After 7 orcas ran aground on the coast in Argentina, it seemed they were doomed to die within minutes, but these heroes and local residents intervened and failed to come to the rescue. They all started digging around the enormous creatures, creating a path and pushing them back into the ocean where they belong. A beautiful display of what we humans can achieve. We work together to make the world a better place. This baby deer was hopelessly stuck in the mud, and it appeared the situation was dire. But suddenly a human comes to its aid, skillfully operating an excavator with pinpoint accuracy, rescuing the baby from this sticky situation. At first, this may not look like he's saving the animal, but with the help of his axe skills, actually cutting around the calf to release the poor animal who's gotten its head stuck inside a hollow tree. In this video, you'll see how an excavator was similarly used to rescue a bear. When a little cow fell down a steep hill and couldn't get up, a kind man saved the poor animal and carried it back to its mother. When a baby deer fell down and got stuck in a fence, the mother struggled to free its baby, but these people heard the screams of the young fawn and came to the rescue. After a long mission, the baby deer was finally free and could reunite with his grateful mother.
Baby's okay. Baby's okay. No one wants to hurt her. There you go.
These kind people who give water to thirsty squirrels during the summer heat waves. When an exhausted camel was seen, collapsed on the side of the road in the middle of the Algerian desert, this truck driver stopped to provide water to the thirsty animal. When a horse was left behind without water, these Ukrainian soldiers rescued the poor animal by setting it free and giving it a drink. When this cow fell into a canal with very strong currents, it seemed sure that it would drown, and if it wasn't for this brave man who risked his life, it certainly would not have survived. After a horrific bushfire in Australia, these people found a baby kangaroo running all around by itself. When they got closer, they realized that the little creature had been severely burned.
Where's your mummy?
They took him to the vet where he was treated for his injuries. Now he will soon be able to hop around the woods again, thanks to these wonderful people. When a cat fell into the water, it seemed impossible that it would be able to get out, but thankfully, this man came up with a creative idea and saved the poor animal. The impact of humanity's waste is destroying the lives of so many beautiful animals in the world, and here is just one of many examples where a sea turtle has tangled in an abandoned fishing line. Fortunately, there are still kind people out there like these guys who decided to free the poor turtle. We've all seen adorable little ducklings struggling to keep up with their mothers, so when these two ducklings couldn't jump up on the curb to follow their mama, they were lucky this kind man was willing to help. The man called for help, and after a long rescue mission, they were finally able to remove the tin can and save the polar bear's life. This family went on their daily beach walk where their dogs loved to take a swim, but they didn't expect something would go horribly wrong today. One of the dogs suddenly slipped below the surface and was about to drown, but thanks to the owner's quick response, the dog was saved at the very last moment. This hungry polar bear asked a man for help after getting its tongue stuck in a tin can which prevented the poor animal from eating. This girl was so stricken by heatstroke that it barely had any strength left in his body, when suddenly a gracious man brought this girl some much-needed water. This girl was so grateful for his kind gesture, he didn't want to leave the man's side. These people found a baby monkey stuck under a sheet of insulation and returned it to his worried mother. The mother thought she had lost her child, but look at the relief on the mother's face when they reunited. Sometimes we underestimate the intelligence of animals just because we can't communicate with them. But in fact, a lot of animals are very smart, just like this sea turtle. Not only did it realize it had something on his back that it couldn't get rid of itself, but also figured out that a human could be its savior. So it approached this diver and asked for help. And luckily it was the right decision. Watch how this kangaroo thinks as rescuers by shaking their hand.
Oh, well done. Oh, he's thanking you.
When this husky pup choked on his food, it caused his heart to stop beating. But this kind-hearted man did everything he could to save him. This Italian firefighter becomes emotional after rescuing a small kitten and cries his heart out, proving that he's a true hero with a compassionate heart.
That's it.
This stray dog was wandering around an industrial site when it fell into molten rubber and became stuck in the toxic mixture, with only his mouth poking out for air. Workers followed the screams of the dog and spent 2 hours getting it out. A leopard that had fallen into a deep well is saved by using a creative D method. When two locals were driving in Kazakhstan, where the temperature had reached minus 58 degrees Celsius, they spotted a rogue deer quietly standing with his head down. The deer's muzzle was completely encased in ice and snow, and the animal could hardly move or see anything. But instead of just passing by like many would, they stopped and spent just a few minutes of their lives in order to save the life of this helpless deer.
Глаза.
This man saved the life of a poor turtle that had been flipped over by the tide. The turtle took a few seconds to catch his breath before going back into his home. This man in Pakistan put his life in danger to rescue an injured pigeon drowning in the water. Thanks to these guys' epic rescue mission, the pigeon was able to fully recover from its injury and continue its life. These two entangled swans swam around the river, trying to break free from each other without success. That's when a couple stumbled upon them and decided to help. After a while, they finally managed to separate the poor animals who appeared to be unharmed, all thanks to the kind couple who spent a few minutes of their time sparing the lives of two helpless creatures. During wildfires, it's the animals that suffer the most when this massive blaze had finally gone out. This woman went out in search of animals that needed help and found a little kangaroo with burned hands who was crying for help. After working to extinguish a house fire, these firefighters found an unconscious bulldog that was suffocating. They quickly provided it with compressed oxygen, hoping to bring it back to life. The dog took a deep breath and finally began to breathe actively again. The firefighters gave the dog some water and covered it with a warm blanket. Thanks to their heroic actions, the dog fully recovered after a couple of days and is now back with his family.
Давай, очухивайся, давай.
This goat whose horns got stuck in electric cables. The footage is simply heartbreaking, clinging to a ladder that the goat knows its life depends on. Even after the rescue team freed the goat, it stuck around looking back at its saviors again and again, as if to say thank you. This man saw something disturbing on the side of the road and stopped to take a closer look. As they got closer, they realized that a sugar glider had gotten stuck on the barbed wire and was desperately trying to free itself without success.
The kind man stayed behind and helped free it, so it could return to its home in the forest.
Go, mate. Go.
These two brave and quick-thinking kayakers rescued a distressed moose calf from drowning after watching it fall from the steep mountain into the cold water.
Got it, got her. I got you. Buddy. Hey, buddy. It's okay. It's okay, bud. It's okay. It's okay, buddy. She'll warm up quick.
After a power line fell onto a flooded road, this cow suffered a horrible trauma. The strong electric current paralyzed the poor animal, and it got stuck being electrocuted on the spot. Thankfully, moments later, a store owner spotted the helpless cow and pulled it out of the danger zone with the help of two Samaritans. Together, they saved the animal's life just in time. Searching for water in a village in northern India, a wild leopard ended up in trouble after getting its head stuck inside a pot. The 3-year-old big cat was found wandering around blind as it struggled to free itself, even though a trapped wild animal is very dangerous. These brave men didn't hesitate to try and help after a long and complicated struggle. They finally managed to free the exhausted animal and transport it back far into the wilderness. This turtle got stuck in tree roots on its way to the sea, but luckily a kind family decided to rescue it and release it back into the ocean where it belongs. These wildlife workers rescued a baby who was stuck in a ditch and couldn't climb out. The elephant family had given up hope, but using an excavator, these people managed to dig the poor animal out. Just watch how the elephant's family comes running to greet their baby. It is so heartwarming to see the elephants welcome their child back to safety and salute the rescuers, saying thank you in their own way before heading off. When an elephant baby and its mother had fallen into a muddy manhole, a team of volunteers mounted the dynamic rescue using an excavator. The mother then suffered heart failure, but these kind-hearted people were not going to give up and even performed CPR on the elephant. Eventually, the mother was brought back to life, and they both returned to the forest after a miraculous rescue. When this family was fishing on a lake during a beautiful summer evening, they spotted a bear with a plastic jar stuck on his head.
Trying to figure out how we're going to get this tub off his head.
Despite the danger, the family attempted to move their boat next to the bear and tried to get the jar off. And after several attempts, they were finally able to free the animal.
Yes! Let's go! We saved our little bear!
Good job, buddy.
When this dog mother got stuck in a gate grill, she was initially scared and acted aggressively toward them, but after 9 hours, the poor dog finally accepted that they were trying to help her. After a long rescue mission, they were finally able to set her free, and in a display of true mother's love, she immediately rushed to check on her puppies. After a massive hurricane, these poor dogs were abandoned in locked cages and had to stand on their hind legs to avoid drowning in the storm's fast-rising floodwaters. But this hero volunteer waded through knee-deep water to rescue the 6 dogs who were whimpering and howling for help.
Come on, puppy. It's okay. Come on.
And just look how happy they are to finally know they're safe after a night of horror.
Nice puppy. Nice puppy.
While working on a remote farm, this man heard a cry for help in the distance that he couldn't ignore. A landslide had trapped this distressed dog in the ground, with only her head remaining above the soil. But the man would soon come to learn that she wasn't concerned for herself alone, so after a while, they heard even more screamed for help underneath the sand.
Savaş sonrasında şimdi yavrular var.
They kept digging and found 7 puppies who had been buried alive.
Check.
Thanks to their quick thinking, the 3 family was safe and sound, much to the relief of their worried mother. When this helpless dog fell into alligator-infested waters, it seemed he was doomed to become their next meal as they quickly swam towards him. But luckily, the dog received help in a very intelligent way by this man in his sweatshirt. When Aslog's mother and her baby were separated, a kind woman found the baby sloth and spent hours searching for its mother. Just watch the heartwarming reunion when they were finally brought back together. After a fire, this cat was poisoned by carbon monoxide and seemed to have no chance of surviving, but his owner begged rescuers for help. The firefighters refused to give up, and after a long rescue mission, a miracle happened. The cat came back to life. The woman's reaction proves that our pets are more than just animals. They're members of our families. When this giraffe was found with a tire stuck on its neck, these wildlife medics helped get rid of it and took care of the wounds too. An absolutely wonderful and brave rescue effort, but my only question is, how did the tire end up there in the first place? No one will ever know. The Australian bushfires are devastating for the country's wildlife, and one of the animals that were terribly affected was this whaling koala, who was badly burned and in desperate need of help. Luckily, there were a lot of kind people who stayed in these dangerous areas to save all the animals that were left behind. Just watch how this man and woman saved the koala to later transport it to a nearby hospital. This poor dog was running around a neighborhood with its head stuck inside a plastic bottle. As the dog's breathing became more labored, he began to panic even more. But luckily, the anxious dog came across these kind people who are willing to help. Mud really can be a silent killer for baby elephants. This baby elephant had also been stuck in mud for days, and no one could save the poor animal except humans. Thankfully, these humans were not afraid to get a little muddy in order to save an innocent soul. Sometimes with animals, they don't understand that we're trying to help them, like this dog who had evaded capture for several weeks. But the dog's life was in serious jeopardy and was in desperate need of help. Luckily, these guys finally managed to capture the stray dog using a fishing net and remove the plastic jar that was stuck on his head, saving its life. This baby elephant had been stuck in mud for almost 2 days, and its protected mother refused to abandon her child. due to the danger of the adult mother's presence, they both had to be tranquilized in order for the safety mission to be pulled off. Now, as the mother elephant regains consciousness, she realizes that her baby has been freed, and they happily walk away together. Plastic containers are undoubtedly one of the most dangerous things for animals that we humans constantly litter in their nature. And here we have yet another stray dog who fell victim to this trash. Fortunately, he was rescued by kind people who had to tranquilize him to assure his safety. This stray cat was hit by a car that didn't even stop to help the poor animal, and it was left on the side of the road to die. Some people thought the cat was already gone, and it put flowers by its body. But when these people came to pick it up, they realized that the animal was still alive, although badly injured and in shock. This kind woman took the cat to the hospital, and amazingly, it survived and went on to live a happy life. Helping a trapped animal can be very dangerous, but without hesitation, these men teamed up to remove the pod that was stuck on the enraged bear's head. An iced-over pool may seem like a great spot to sniff, but as you can see here, the danger is real. Thankfully, the owners were nearby and jumped in to save the dog, who was struggling to stay above the freezing water. This poor dog who got his head stuck between a fence and was trapped there for several hours. Thankfully, though, these people finally heard the calls for help and freed the innocent animal. These builders were digging a sewer when they found something unexpected. And suddenly the work turned into an emergency rescue operation. This dog who got stuck in barbed wire and desperately tried to free himself, only making it worse. Even though they didn't know the dog, these kind people did not hesitate to save him. When this bat got electrocuted by flying into power wires and unfortunately died, her little baby was still miraculously alive under his fur. I think the poor thing doesn't want to let her mother go, but luckily, it looks like she has a new mother now. Despite the beauty of the experience, you should never release a balloon into the air, because the colorful rubber fabric can become a death trap for sea turtles, who easily mistake them for jellyfish. Just watch how this poor turtle was struggling to survive until it was found by these wonderful guys, who didn't hesitate to help the dying animal. This baby deer fell into the water and couldn't get back on land, with the mother also unable to help, but these people heard the tiny screams for help and decided to rescue it from drowning and reunite the baby with its mother. This sheep survived alone in the Australian bush for several years without ever being sheared, which eventually led to the animal carrying around 26 kilograms of burdensome wool. But thankfully, after many attempts, this organization could finally catch the sheep and rescue it. Firefighters, medics, and police are true heroes of society. Just watch as these police officers run into a burning house to save a dog before it's too late.
I don't know if there's any dogs here at the moment. Come here, Bubby. Come here, boys. Come here. Come here. Come here.
The brave men carry the dog out of the house and away from the dangerous smoke before they run back inside to check if anyone's left. These kind people risked their safety to free a dangerous bobcat from a trap. Just look how confused the poor animal is when it realizes the human was just trying to help. Hearts were pounding as a firefighter made his way on the thin ice to save this dog from drowning. The firefighter almost fell into the water as well, but only seconds before the ice completely collapsed, they were pulled back to safety. And here we have another brave firefighter saving a dog in a similar way. Watch how this brave man saves the cow from being eaten by a lion, then having a very intense standoff with a dangerous carnivore. This man witnessed his dog plunge through the thin ice, but didn't hesitate to jump in after him. Trudging their way through the shallow, freezing water, they make it back to safety. Somehow these magpies all got their heads stuck in a fence and were unable to free themselves, but today was their lucky day, as a man who was passing by stopped to free them. Here we have tiny deer who got himself into some trouble by getting his leg stuck in a barbed wire fence. But this little deer was very lucky to have been found by kind-hearted people, as they cut the fence and rescued the baby. Its mother was breathlessly watching from only 30 yards away, waiting to be reunited. After falling through a hole, this female dog got stuck in a sewer. She found herself in a horrible situation, and her babies were calling for her, wondering where their mother had gone. Luckily, these guys managed to get her out and clean her off, reuniting the mother with her babies. When this baby deer somehow fell into a hole in the ground and got trapped, the mother had to abandon it, but luckily these people found the cute animal and started digging it out without hesitation. Watch how this firefighter revives a cat that had been rescued from the basement of a burning house. Just listen to the cat meowing. It is very confused, but still so grateful to be alive. After saving 2 people from drowning in a river, this crew was not going to forget about the poor dog that was also fighting against the strong currents. They spent nearly 2 hours on the rescue mission, but it was all worth it in the end.
Here's, this is going to be it right here, this firefighter. All 3 of them in the water, rope around the neck, they got him.
They got him.
Great job, they got him, they hooked him there.
When a drowning squirrel was rescued from a swimming pool, the situation seemed hopeless. Thankfully, the rescuer knew how to perform CPR on the tiny animal and brought it back from the brink of death. After a long rescue attempt, the baby deer finally regains consciousness and sits with them to gather some strength before running away back to the forest.
Yeah, okay, call mommy.
This mother, who performed CPR on a slightly bigger animal after a baby deer was found lifeless on the bottom of their pool.
Oh God, I'm gonna have to give it CPR.
Mom, it's opening.
Okay, all right, here I go.
Mom. It's kind of coming back.